Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, it's game day. The Sens are on the West Coast kicking off 2024 against one of the best teams in the NHL, the Vancouver Canucks.
And the Sens made some big moves off the ice, getting their entire front office in order.
We'll get into all that, plus World Junior conversation, PWHL Ottawa begins today, and a whole lot more on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 950 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan in the South Florida heat alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first ticket purchase. A reminder that you can follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today's episode, we want you to let us know what would make 2024 a success. What are you looking forward to this year that would make you believe in the future of the Ottawa Senators? Today is Tuesday, January 2nd, and Pilsy, Happy New Year, brother. This is the longest time we've gone between live episodes.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too, buddy. Hope you're enjoying the second leg of your honeymoon, getting some more sunshine down in Florida. But yeah, this is, it's good to be back, Ross. As much as I enjoyed my vacation, it was killing me not doing a postcast after that Leafs game. It was tough to just turn off my hockey brain and just relax. I got my relaxing in. I'm recharged. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to talk Sens hockey again because there is so much that happened, at least it feels like it, since we were away. So let's get back to it. Welcome back, citizens.
Well, was the Leafs game the time where you're itching to get on the postcast the most? Because it was Dave Poulin being hired, a friend of the show, to the Senators front office. It was the enormous victory against Buffalo. And we're going to get in to Erik Brannstrom playing forward against his wishes, but that's all coming up a little bit later. It is a game day for the Sens, and not only that, what a perfect appetizer to a Senators late start, 10 p.m. on the West Coast, playing in Vancouver, then the inaugural PWHL Ottawa game against the hated Montreal team. We need team names, by the way, because this whole Ottawa, we'll just call them by the cities for now, but we need team names. That's a thread in the comments here on yesterday's episode. But also, it seems like you guys really enjoyed Emily Clark on Locked On Senators. Promise it won't be her last time on the show either. Yep. I'm calling it right now. She's leading the team in scoring this year. I'm telling you that.
Ross, I will I'll hop on that take, and I'll even go farther. She will score the first ever goal for PWHL Ottawa.
I thought you were going to say she's going to lead the league in scoring.
I mean, we'll get there. We'll get there, Ross. But I think she's going to start things off with a bang.
And for you degenerates like us, you can go to FanDuel Sportsbook and make your wager on tonight's game. Ottawa minus 116 on the money line, plus 210 for the game on a puck line basis. By the way, if you want to really be kind of like, put your pom-poms on, Ottawa has the longest odds to win the championship right now, plus 600. So just saying, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, do as you please. But we got Senators talk to get into right now, Pilsy. I want to ask you the question I told everyone to put in the comments. What would make 2024 a success for you?
Oh, man.
Playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. If they sneak into the playoffs, holy crap, that is a successful 2024 year. Drafting someone in the first round. Let's go for that. Let's have a first round draft pick here. We got two of them. Let's at least keep one, or try not to have it taken away from us. I guess they're going to have to decide that also. And I'll stretch it even further to next season, but still in 2024, have a amazing November. Not a bad November, not an okay November, not a good November. This 2024 November has to be a smashing success. So that's a long ways away, but that's going to be huge.
I completely agree. And obviously, I'm having some fun with the P word right now, but realistically, it's about the D word, development. And these players need to learn how to play together under a structured system. The stability in the front office is going to be a big thing. We'll get into kind of how this management structure is going to work now with the promotion of Ryan Bowness to associate GM from assistant. We've got Dave Poulin in the mix as a senior vice president of hockey operations. And of course, Steve Staios is taking the interim tag off of his general manager duties. He's shedding that, but taking on a whole lot of responsibility. Staios will also remain as the president of hockey operations. So I saw some great memes. You know, the one of Obama giving himself a medal, that saying that Steve Staios naming himself GM. Had some great laughs at that. Awesome press conference. I really enjoyed what I heard from all of them. What stood out from you watching Dave Poulin up there? And obviously Ryan Bowness unable to be there. He's out scouting right now, but Michael Andlauer and Steve Staios all met with the media. And what a time. Get into that too. The timing of this, 3 p.m. on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I think Andlauer was kind of saying it was his 100th day as owner. So maybe that's why he wanted to make that splash and maybe go into 2024 being like, all right, we talked a big game about stability. It's going to flip into the new year. We feel stabilized here. Talking about verbal memes, Ross, I feel like someone needs to do a verbal meme where Steve Staios has two heads and it's just both Steve Staios, the two-headed monster of the Ottawa Senators, president and GM is just two Steve Staioses, but that's fine. Can you explain to me how Ryan Bowness, like, what's the promotion from assistant general manager to associate general manager? Like what changes there? Do you know?
I'm glad that you brought that up because I think it's more of a collaborative approach. I have a feeling this is a bit of a shot, not on purpose, but I think kind of on the outskirts of how kind of controlling it seems, at least this management regime is making out the previous one to be, where it was Pierre Dorian's world and we're going to live with his decisions and we're going to die by his decisions, as they did time and time again. But with Ryan Bowness, it seems like he didn't really have much say in what happened under Dorian. So I almost feel like it's them being like, hey, like, you're a part of this. We want you to know that.
Maybe
it's
just
like
beyond Belleville. Like it felt like Ryan Bowness was the Belleville guy and that's kind of it.
Yes, and now he's going to be helping make the decisions. Now, buck ends with Steve Staios. He's going to be the guy who pulls trigger. He's going to be the one who gets either the praise for the victories or the blame when things don't go their way. But I do think it's worth noting, that associate is a step up from assistant. So maybe it comes with a pay raise. Who knows? But Ryan Bowness. And the other interesting part in all this is Ryan Bowness, it sounds like, in listening to 32 Thoughts yesterday on the plane, I realized, like, they're looking for an up-and-coming guy to be the next, either what would have been GM or now maybe it's the Ryan Bowness role. But Elliot Friedman says around league circles, like, Ryan Bowness is going to be a GM in the league one day. It's just a matter of when, not if. So it almost feels like, hey, maybe they didn't feel like they needed to go. Now, the other side of that, how many teams are giving permission to speak to guys this late in the season? Maybe this is something to reevaluate in the summer. But right now, I think it's important to go into a trade deadline and a year where you're looking to set up the future of this team. We'll get into Shane Pinto as well, the rumors, and we had a little the streets coming out from our end here of what we're hearing with Shane Pinto and a pending contract that could be signed, but they're going to have to move some things around if that's what they're going to do. But I do wonder if that's something where they just wanted to have Steve Staios be the general manager going into these conversations. I know you're president of hockey ops, but just to take out instability from the vocabulary here. So no, I thought it was a great press conference. And when it comes to Dave Poulin, man, obviously we have a personal relationship with him. I think he's an all-time guy. I'll share the story I put out on Twitter because I know not everybody's on there, but he's the one guy when it comes to like the talent, the on-air people at TSN, who would go out of his way as me right out of school as a producer and would make you feel like you're a part of the team. Always be like, he would ask my opinion on things. And then he would, be like, hey, I was talking to producer Ross before and he said this. Like he would actually and talk about a collaborative approach, right? And you think about management and being that. He was even that in his broadcasting career with TSN. So I think for anyone who's comparing this to Pierre Maguire, you're way off base. Maguire, I mean, over 700. You just look, and I think a lot of people our age, Pilsy, they didn't know Dave Poulin, the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers or the Boston Bruins. And, this guy was a Game 7 away from beating Wayne Gretzky in his prime in the Stanley Cup final. Like, he's got quite the resume just beyond what he did as a broadcaster, which as an unbiased view and not caring about wins and losses, as he says, I think it's pretty important. So I'm really interested to see. It obviously did not go well in Toronto. I'm almost chalking that up, and people can disagree all you want, but when you're in Toronto or in Edmonton, these markets where there's so many people in your ear, I'm curious how much each individual has versus the guy at the very top who's making ultimately the decisions. Because there's some stains on the resume there, no doubt. But I'm curious to see how his 10 years in broadcasting now and seeing the game from that level is going to affect this. But there is no way this is even close to Pierre Maguire. Pierre Maguire was most known for getting memed, whereas Dave Poulin, every one of his colleagues at TSN, myself included, just had nothing but great things to say about him. So I didn't realize he has Ottawa roots too. He brought that up, that both of his parents are from Ottawa. So I think that's a nice little kind of connection to the city as well.
Yeah, I was so stoked when I saw that news, Ross. Like you mentioned, he's a friend of the show. Behind the scenes, he is so gracious with his time and just such a nice guy. And he kind of talked about it. Like, he has such an interesting resume. You look at player, and then he did a lot of coaching and was a big part of the Notre Dame development there in college hockey. Then, like you mentioned, he's senior vice president of hockey operations with the Leafs, and now a TSN analyst for a long time, and a lot of the time covering the Sens. So this is a guy that's very plugged in, and he's able to take a look at the game from so many different vantage points. And I think when you're talking about guys in the front office, you want people that don't have that kind of ego trip power thirst. Like it seemed like maybe guys in the past in Ottawa Senators front office did, or at least thought they had to have that. Poulin, I think this is going to be such a collaborative effort, and I think this is the right guy for the job, and I'm so excited about him getting the job, and I'm excited, hopefully, Ross, we can get him on the show again soon to kind of talk about how all of this went down.
Absolutely, and him and Steve Staios worked together briefly with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and to show the dysfunction there, apparently Brian Burke just brought Staios in the room and said, hey, he's going to be working with you, Poulin. And Poulin said, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know. I'm new to this. And hopefully there's a little more direction here in Ottawa. And great news for Dave Poulin. Really happy for him and really happy for the Senators. And for those who are maybe on the fence with this move, it's not Peter Chiarelli, and that was a long rumored name. Yes. That could have been in the mix. And now you're looking at the management structure for the Ottawa Senators with Michael Andlauer on top. And I think you're kidding yourself if you think that he's not going to be involved in hockey operations. He's a hockey fan through and through, and he just paid $950 million for the franchise. He's certainly going to have his say about what this team is going to build. It sounds like Steve Staios, for the most part, is an extension of the brain of Michael Andlauer and how he feels a hockey team should be built and have been built in the past at different levels. So there you have it. It goes Andlauer, it goes Staios. I'm going to say Dave Poulin's probably a little bit ahead in terms of the senior title there than Ryan Bowness. But Bowness is obviously going to have a lot on his hands in terms of contract negotiations, in terms of the Belleville Senators. And we're going to touch on the Belleville Sens, winners of 4 straight, by the way. And shout out, we'll save the shout out for after the break. You're listening to Locked On Senators. It's your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Guys, Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. It started off with 3 best friends making a life-changing decision, and they opened their first store in Kingston. They grinded to achieve their goals, and through hard work and dedication, they now have 4 stores in the Ottawa area and a store in Cobourg. If you're in Ottawa, the locations are Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. So check out all of those spots, because Mary J's offers not only the best, but the newest products in the market, with many new additions coming every week. So stay up to date with them on their website. Mary J's has everything you're looking for, whether you're a rookie or a grizzled vet. They offer competitive pricing. In fact, they will price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around at any Mary J's location. And they offer the best customer service around by having the friendliest bud tenders who are always ready to help. One of the owners, Dashy, is an absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. So go to one of their locations, say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Ottawa Senators and all the newest great products Mary J's has to offer. Check it out today, guys. Mary J's Dispensary.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets should not be stressful. And when you go to Game Time, you can be sure that you get the best tickets at the lowest prices. What I love about Game Time too is that I can see exactly what seats I'm going to be in before I purchase the tickets. But when I'm ready, it's 2 taps. It's so easy to pull trigger at Game Time. And at Game Time, you can be sure that for concerts, for comedy shows, I like going to those as well. And also for any sporting event, you can go over to Game Time and make sure that you can get fast and easy tickets. Killer last minute deals as well. They've got these flash deals that just boom, pop up, all in pricing. So you're not going to be shocked when you hit checkout and, oh, what? It's double what I thought. No, not at Game Time. So you can get the best price guarantee at Game Time, taking the guesswork out of buying tickets. So Game Time, the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind when it comes to your purchase. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. So it's the place to find last minute seats. Get exclusive flash deals and zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for big time savings. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Because you're a listener of LOSP, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKED ON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKED ON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guarantee. For Pillsy, I got to give a shout out to the citizen out there. He's not on Twitter. I tried to find him. I'm sitting in the Kauai airport. This is a remote island in northern Hawaii. There's Hawaiian Air, just, shuttles, quick 20-minute flights from island to island. So we're going from Oahu, Honolulu, up to Kauai. I'm sitting there. I'm waiting for the flight, not wearing any Sens gear, just wearing, Hawaiian shirt as you do there.
Of course.
And this guy comes up to me and he goes, Ross, just wanted to say, love the pod. Go Sens, go. I didn't even have a chance to be like, dude, what's your name? Who are you? What's up? Wanted to say hi. He just scurries off. I don't know if he was meeting his girl or whatever, but just shout out that citizen. The look on my wife's face was hilarious. She's like, really? Are you serious right now? But that just shows the power of Sens fans, and I just want to give that guy a shout out because that absolutely ruled.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're a global podcast. You've seen that with our Sens Central citizens. So now add Hawaii to the list here. That's awesome.
Put it on the list. Pillsy, I also want to give a shout out because we talked about the times where we missed the podcast the most while we were away. The Leafs win, obviously, so many different things. And in the game day preview, we will talk Erik Brannstrom because in the side, if you're watching on YouTube, you can always subscribe on YouTube. Erik Brannstrom, elite forward. We'll touch on that for sure. But Pillsy, another moment that got me in my feelings, Tyler Boucher, first pro goal.
Yeah, and he didn't take too long for him to open the account. As our good friend would have said in
Alex Heiner.
Yeah, yes, Alex Heiner. You'll love to see that, especially for a guy like Tyler Boucher that has struggled to just be able to get on the ice and playing. So we're rooting for Tyler Boucher for sure. So let's keep those goals coming, Tyler.
Hey, is it worth noting as well with Tyler Boucher coming into the mix here? They're 4-1 since he got his pro debut. Like the B-Sens, 4 straight wins. Our boy Igor Sokolov ties the game in the third period in their last game of 2023 on the road against the Marlies, and then sets up Cole Reinhardt for the winner in overtime. So this is great to see a team get rolling, and hopefully Ottawa can follow suit here, because right now Belleville, they're in a situation where, they were 500. Shocker. The Senators organization, they were just chugging along at 500. But now with 4 straight wins, they actually feel like they're getting some tread here, and they might be able to make a go out of it. Right now, they sit 3rd in the AHL North Division. So I'm happy for the guys down there. I'm happy for David Bell. And they're missing 2 of their top players, Angus Crookshank, Yuri Smekal, both up in Ottawa right now. Now, will they be in the lineup? That's another question, but they're without them in Belleville. So to see these other guys step up the way that they've done, I think it's super impressive, and it says a lot about kind of the coaching I think that they're getting down there, because they look kind of lost a little bit earlier on. They're also getting great goaltending. Mando was great in his last outing. Mads has been good all year. So we're going to be looking into a good, I mean, Belleville, they need to make playoffs. They need to win a playoff game for the first time in franchise history. This needs to happen. And I want to highlight one other player here, because we talk about Igor, who, 2-point effort looks good there. Our guy as well, friend of the show, Roby Järventie, right now is on a 6-game heater. He's got goals in his last 4 games, 5 of them over that span. He looks like he's really starting to take the next step. And maybe not the youngest guy in the league like he was for so long, but still only 21 years old, man.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes, Ross, just a little taste of NHL action and NHL life can give you a boost. Now that he's down in Belleville, he's probably doing everything he can to try to show that he should be the next call-up if need be. But the big thing, Ross, is you look at these last 4 wins, 3 of them up against the Marlies and then 1 against Laval. We always talk about it in the AHL, the division games are absolutely massive. So that's huge for this team. They got to be feeling very confident going into the new year.
And they actually passed the Marlies by 1 point in the standings with beating them over that stretch. All right, good stuff down in Belleville. We'll get into that more as things continue on. Belleville, they've got their next 2 games are actually in Winnipeg. I get home Friday, and they're in Winnipeg Saturday, Sunday. So very nice couple afternoons.
Are you getting in the mix there?
We're going to see. I don't think I can call the games, because once you take 2 weeks off for vacation, it's hard to then come back and your first day back be like, hey, I got to leave early. But I'm hoping to either see footy or some of the guys there while I'm in town. And I think we're actually carrying the game on Sunday. So I'll have some thoughts for that next Monday here on LOSP. But Pillsy, it's a Sens game day. I feel like I don't want to say we're burying the lead, because we had a lot to catch up on over our time off. 2 weeks. We hadn't actually sat down and recorded together since December 21st. And on that day, we recorded 7 episodes. It was a big day for sure for us, Pillsy, but the citizens deserve it. And the citizens came out in droves this year. If you want to see all the stats, you can go head over to Twitter at Sens Central or Instagram lockedon.senators. But 1.74 million total views and downloads. Unreal. The citizens remain undefeated. We're coming for 2 mil in 2024. That's another thing I want to see as a successful season for LOSP. But coming up next, we got a game day. The Vancouver Canucks are red hot. They've been red hot all year. They look unbelievable. Locked On Canucks, they have to be feeling good. We had some banter back and forth in the summer. And yeah, Vancouver got the win in the first game. But Pillsy, you noted it. Goalie-friendly show, it's hard to say. But Ottawa deserved the win in that game. They allowed 5 goals on 16 shots, okay?
Anton Forsberg, yeah.
But who should start in goal tonight? We'll have that conversation. Erik Brannstrom, does he stay at forward? And what else does Jacques Martin have up his sleeve tonight? 10 o'clock puck drop. Senators in Vancouver. Full game day preview next. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel is the official online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, and for a good reason. They're America's #1 sportsbook. Why would you go anywhere else? And right now, new customers in the U.S. can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. I love the FanDuel app. It's easily the best sportsbook app out there, and they've got a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And it's not just hockey, guys. You can bet on basketball, football, get your baseball futures in now that you know where Shohei Ohtani is. Maybe you want to get your futures going there. And Ross mentioned it. Get in the mix with PWHL. We got to head to tonight's game and try to get a couple shekels with the new PWHL Ottawa team, especially it's a home game. Let's get a big dub right off the bat. So if you want to get in on the action in all the different sports, you got to do it at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
In Ottawa. It's just a game day in Ottawa. PWHL Ottawa taking on Montreal at 7 o'clock. And then at 10, get your coffee going, because we have Senators hockey against Vancouver, and the postcast is back. The postcast returns tonight. It's going to be a late one, but if you either have to go to sleep, I know work is starting back up, but You'll have some nice content on the way because the postcast, it's great in the chat for sure, but you can also catch the postcast wherever you download your podcast. Pilsy, the Vancouver Canucks, one of the best stories this season in the National Hockey League. And when they're not playing the Senators, I got to tell you, I like the Vancouver Canucks. I enjoy watching them play. Right now, they're third in the National Hockey League behind only the New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins. So Vancouver's got a 23-10-3 record. We'll break down just kind of how they got there and their team in a little while. But Pilsy, this is Locked On Senators for a reason. And we do not have line combos yet. The Senators flew out west yesterday, so they are getting on the ice at 2 p.m. Eastern today. So we're just going to go with what the lines were in their 5-1 win over the Buffalo Sabres on New Year's Eve. Tim Stützle between Vladimir Tarasenko and Drake Batherson. We expect Josh Norris to line up with Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux. Ridley Gregg with Dominic Kubalik and Parker Kelly. And then Mark Kostelik with Erik Brannstrom and Zach McEwen. On defense, Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, Thomas Chabot with Jacob Bernard-Docker, Jacob Chikrin with Travis Hamonic, and in goal, Pilsy, this is where I'm going to throw it to you. It's either Eunice Korpisalo or Anton Forsberg. It was a one-sided poll on Twitter at Sens Central. I just asked who should start in goal tonight. Which way would you like the Senators to go?
I mean, I do like the win and you're in concept, Ross, but after we really revisited what happened last time these two teams played, Anton Forsberg allowing 5 goals on 16 shots, I might go to Korpisalo here. So I voted Korpisalo, Ross.
I'm going to go with Anton Forsberg. You know me. I love a good revenge. I love a guy who can come in here and shut the door. He played great against Buffalo. Sure, 5-1 looks great on the score sheet. He lets in that breakaway to start the second period. Could have been a completely different game. He made some great saves. The team kind of hung him out to dry there for a little bit in the second period. Jacques Martin said the same thing. He's like, man, I wish we could have, had a more complete effort. It seems like Ottawa in spurts are playing well, but there's still times in games where they really kind of let their guard down. In the second period, they were outshot 18-5, but Forsey stood tall, making all 18 saves. Heck, the goal they gave up was with 14 seconds left in the first period. A tough rim from Jacob Bernard-Docker ends up in the back of the net. Nice play, though, by Jeff Skinner to knock it down and get it over to Tage Thompson. But that's 30 consecutive saves in the second and third period for Anton Forsberg to bring that one home. I'm going with him. He was brutal against Vancouver earlier in the year, but to me, that just smells like revenge. So I'm hoping for Anton Forsberg. And the citizens out there, Pilsy, the citizens are agreeing with me. I guess it's that win and you're in. We're through 600 plus votes on Twitter at Sens Central. 74% are on the Anton Forsberg train to start in this game. Now, Pilsy, we've got the lineup, but we don't know if it's going to stay the same. I'm also curious if they're going to make a lineup change. Are you of the mind too, where we talk about goalies win and you're in? Are you of the same mind with the lineup itself? Because I think if DJ Smith was still the coach of this team, Angus Crookshank would be getting back in the lineup. It's his hometown, Vancouver, friends, family. AJ, I'm sure, will be in the mix, friend of the show. Angus's brother joined us after his NHL debut and his first NHL goal. Heck, I'm not sure he deserved to come out of the lineup, but is this a situation where Jacques Martin made his decision and the guys he put in produce? So do you keep things the same, or are you looking to mix it up, whether it's Crooker coming in his hometown, Yuri Smejkal coming in, Brannstrom back to defense? Is there anything you would change coming into tonight?
Well, just quickly back on the goalies too, Ross. Anton Forsberg had a shutout against the Seattle Kraken last time they played. So I wouldn't mind going Corpy tonight and then Anton Forsberg up against Seattle on Thursday. That sounds like a better recipe for success for me.
Check out the big brain on Brandon.
Boom, big brain. Yeah, I want to see Crooker in this game. I know, like, Jacques Martin, he's coming in and he's, for lack of a better word, a stingier coach than DJ Smith is, but I believe in the hometown boost. I really think that he can provide some jump to this team, but I don't know who to take out, really, because Parker Kelly has looked great recently. Casti ends up getting on the score sheet as well, and like you mentioned, Erik Brannstrom. I like how you went back, Ross, and you found all the people on Twitter that said Erik Brannstrom should be a forward, because we've had people saying that for a long time. And although I'm still wishy-washy about it. I don't know how I feel about it.
So is he.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get to that. He did look good out there. And Ross, what was my whole argument for why Erik Brannstrom is valuable to this team? Versatility, baby. I mean, this guy can play a left defense, right defense, penalty kill, power play. Heck, tell him the morning of the game, and he can play forward. Now,
Still no face-offs, though.
Yeah, well, he's 2 for 2 in the face-off dot as far as I'm concerned.
Ceremonial face-offs, to be clear, in Sweden.
They don't ask how, they just ask how many, Ross. So the versatility on Erik Brannstrom's through the roof. His agent's got to be chomping at the bit here to get that next contract in. They might even put Erik Brannstrom as a goalie, for crying out loud. Who knows?
You'd have to beat out Timmy. Hey, yeah. Timmy had the butterfly save last game.
True, that was actually a nice save. Good form by Timmy too. But you know what? I'm willing to give Erik Brannstrom at forward another chance here. Like with Thomas Chabot coming in, and it seems like it's not just DJ Smith that's reluctant to take Hamonic out of the lineup. Jacques Martin and Jack Capuano obviously also reluctant to take Hamonic out. So Brandy provided some jump to that fourth line, which we haven't seen in a while. And then you got Zach McEwen with an absolute clap bomb. He's showing some offensive capability. So you know what, Ross? I'm keeping the lineup how it is for now.
I thought you wanted to see Crooker.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I want to get Crooker in the mix here.
For who comes out. That's the thing. Like, I don't know who you take out. Think about who scored last game. Would have been my candidates to come out. It would have been, to a lesser extent, because I know he's higher in the lineup, but Kubalik hasn't looked great this season, but he gets a goal last game, albeit Ridley Gregg had a great play on the entry there.
McEwen
scores. McEwen revenge game too in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Casty brings face-offs to the mix. Parker Kelly's had some jump in his game recently. To me, it would probably be Parker Kelly because that's a similar type of player as Angus Crookshank. And look, he doesn't have to play all 82. So that's what I'd do. I'd take Parker Kelly out of the lineup just for one game and to see how it goes tonight. But and he'll have his game in Calgary, right? But again, he played over 15 minutes last game. So I don't think Parker Kelly's coming out of the lineup, and he brings that penalty killing acumen that the team, they need penalty killers right now. Let's be honest. I know it was better against Buffalo, but they still need to find a way to get some penalty killers. So are you saying Parker Kelly? Are you saying Zach McEwen?
I think I'm taking McEwen out here just because I don't think
spin zone though. You're gonna have a fourth line with Crooker, albeit he plays big, but he's still not the biggest stature, and Branny on the same line.
No, I switch Crooker and Kelly. So I want the line to be Branny, Casty, Kelly, and then the third line, Kubalik, Gregg, Crooker.
I think you're sending the wrong message if you take Zach McEwen out after what he did. He didn't take any dumb penalties like he was doing earlier in the year. He has a clap bomb, and I mean, Branny got those guys going. If Branny scored on that spinnerama at the end of the game, that would have been the funniest thing ever. So Brady gets tossed at the end of that game as well. And you know what? This is one of those times, I know they're winning, so it's also different. That was a greasy play by Peyton Krebs to go in there for that poke. That was so late. Like, Okposo gives him a little, like he's digging for the puck. That I have no problem with. You're playing hard till the whistle. Yep. Krebs came in like 3 seconds later. So yeah, Brady's going to give it to him. Anyways, Brady gets kicked out, end of the game. And they had one shift where it was Stützle, Batherson, and Erik Brannstrom at forward. That to me was the funniest line of, and then Branny almost scored on that shift. Like Branny might be a forward, but let's actually get into right now a little bit. We'll get to let's get to our locked on players first. But to me, I'm not changing anything. But to your point with Travis Hamonic coming out or lack thereof coming in lineup again, revenge game tonight, former Vancouver Canuck. But that aside, Jacques Martin also noted after the last game. He's a lefty-righty guy as well. And you're seeing it with the split of Sanderson, Chychrun, Chabot. All three of them in the lineup, all three on different pairs. And it's not really affecting the ice time. I know they each get special teams time in their own right, but Chychrun, by accounts, is on the third pair, right? The third pair. Well, last game, Jacob Chychrun played 21-18. So I think they're really trying to split it up evenly and get three pairs that are rolling out 20 minutes a night. So I'm really intrigued to see how that looks for not only Chychrun, but for Thomas Chabot playing a little bit less than he's used to in the past and a whole lot more. So let's get into our locked on players to watch in tonight's game. 10 o'clock puck drop, Senators taking on the Vancouver Canucks. The Senators, by the way, have won 2 of their last 3 games. So They've got that, or sorry, 3 of their last 4. 3 of their last 4 because they had the 2
Mhm.
wins, the loss, which really felt like 5 losses because they got absolutely smoked by New Jersey.
Yeah.
But then they bounced back, so they won 3 of 4. So 4 to 5 ain't bad if they can get the result tonight against Vancouver. My locked on player is Jacob Chychrun in this game, Pilsy. He's a machine. Like, I know that it just feels like a one-timer, his goal there against Buffalo to open the scoring. He scored a few goals that opened the scoring in games so far this season. He did it in the home opener as well. A couple else in between there. Jacob Chychrun, by the way, already up to 7 goals this season. Like he's on pace. You had your hot take at the start of the season was 20 goals for Chychrun. He's on pace for that, Pilsy. He looks great. And I think that with Thomas Chabot coming back as well, I don't understand the hate that Chychrun was getting at times this season. And I think that's completely unfounded. I think that he looks real good, and I'm excited to see what Jacob Chychrun can do here. Maybe not so much with Travis Hamonic, but in a situation where he's not relied on to play, top penalty kill, top power play, all this. But dude, that one-timer, like that was a rocket pass from Claude Giroux.
That's what I was going to mention, Ross. That doesn't happen without the hockey IQ and the experience of Claude Giroux threading that pass to him backdoor. That was incredible. I've been up and down about Jacob Chychrun this year, Ross. I feel like he hasn't been as advertised for most part, but I have mentioned I really thought Thomas Chabot coming back would ease Chychrun into a spot that makes more sense for him. And it seems like at least one, obviously small sample size, Chabot just back for that Buffalo game, but it seems like that is the case. And I think we're going to see the best is yet to come for Jacob Chychrun moving forward here.
He's on pace for a career high in goals, career high in points right now this year in Ottawa. And I'm excited to see him tonight here on a third pair. Who's your locked on player to watch?
I got to go with Drake Batherson. This is the guy that I keyed in as being someone that Jacques Martin's really going to take a good look at when he started coaching. It's been 6 games under Jacques Martin here, and Drake Batherson, point per game guy. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists in those 6 games, and he's looked really good. I just feel like he's settling into the player we need him to be. He's a big part of the power play, and he's a guy that a lot of his goals, Ross, have been kind of in those greasy areas and him showing patience. And even crazier, like that game-winning goal, that bank shot from a weird angle in Toronto, that's Batherson just being like, look, I've got the fraction of space here, but I'm confident in my abilities and I'm going to squeeze it through. Martin Jones had no idea what was happening there, and that ends up being the winner. So I think Drake Batherson's confidence is at an all-time high here. He's second on the team in goals with 14, only behind Brady. So I want to keep Drake Batherson rolling here.
I love that. And he's among the league leaders in the last month in even strength points. A lot of his work is being done at even strength. Pilsy, since December 1st, Drake Batherson is tied for 11th in the National Hockey League in points.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing right now with Drake Batherson. You know who he's tied with? You'll get a kick out of this. A couple Sens abroad. Mark Stone and Alex DeBrincat.
Oh, nice.
One difference, and this should surprise no one, that Alex DeBrincat's a -7 in his 15 games. Drake Batherson being a +7, I think cannot be overstated based on the fact that the last couple of years have not gone his way in terms of the plus-minus. Say what you want about the stat, but it's great to see Drake, and he looks more physical. He looks more engaged, and I like that pick tonight, Pilsy, as a locked-on player to watch. He had some success against Vancouver in that COVID season. Drake Batherson, I'm curious. I'm actually going to pull up right now what Drake Batherson's splits are in his career against the Vancouver Canucks, because I feel like he's had some good games against them. Let's see if I'm completely off base. 8 points in 14 games. All right, nothing to waste time on that because we have an important discussion to get into. Erik Brannstrom. Now, here's how I'll ask it. And if you haven't seen Erik Brannstrom's post-games comments, go see them. And he's a very kind of, to himself player. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's ever going to be too high or too low, but read into it what you may. It didn't seem like he really wanted to play forward. Do you, if you're the coach, care at all about that, or are you just focused on what will give my team the best chance to win?
I think specifically, Ross, if you're Jacques Martin, you don't care. Maybe a coach that's got a long-term deal here and is maybe looking like, hey, this is going to be a relationship I need to keep intact here. Maybe you care a little bit. But look, if I'm Erik Brannstrom, I don't I don't blame him for being upset. Like, you're a first rounder. You've been doing everything this team wants you to do. Now people might already be smashing their steering wheel, being like, Pilsy, this guy is not the guy we thought we were getting in the return for the Mark Stone trade. Yes, 100% that's fair. But to be Erik Brannstrom and the morning of being like, oh yeah, Erik, by the way, you're going to play forward. Have a good game. See ya. And then now you're just thrown into it like this is pretty crazy, but he has the skill set that it might be a good spot for him to be a forward. But the thing is, Ross, like, this team has an abundance of guys that can play a bottom six winger role. So it feels kind of silly that he's the guy plugging that hole. We just talked about Angus Crookshank not in the lineup, Yuri Schmeichel not in the lineup, Igor Sokolov not called up, Roby Yarventi not called up. Like, there's so many guys that could be doing that role. It seems a little silly not to have a versatile defenseman like Erik Brannstrom plugged into the decor here, but I'm willing to give this a shot. Like, why not? It works the first night. He was able to bring some energy to that fourth line. Like you mentioned, he had an opportunity playing with the skill guys and almost capitalized on it. So until it implodes and kind of looks embarrassing, I'm willing to let this ride here.
And tonight's a great test for that because the Vancouver Canucks, they're heavy, they're big, and they bring a whole lot on the forecheck. So I'm curious to see how Erik Brannstrom is going to, fit into the mold against the Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks are just rolling. I already mentioned they're third in the National Hockey League. They're first in their division, in the Pacific Division. They're tied with the Vegas Golden Knights in points, but they've played 2 less games. They look great, and they, to me, have the leading candidate for the Norris Trophy. But before we get to him, let's work our way through the lineup right now. The top line center is Elias Pettersson. He's playing with Ilya Mikheyev and Andrei Kuzmenko. The second line is JT Miller with Phil DiGiuseppe and Brock Besser, who is just filling the net with pucks. The third line, Teddy Bluger, is with Dakota Joshua and Connor Garland, and P.S. Suter is with Niels Ammann and Sam Lafferty. Every time I see Sam Lafferty's name, I think of Lafferty Daniel from Happy Gilmore, but that's just me. On defense, Quinn Hughes is with Philip Hronik. Nikita Zadorov is with Tyler Myers. Holy, that's like a 15-foot tall D pair. And then Ian Cole is with Juleson on the third pair. In goal, I'm expecting it to be Thatcher Demko. Now, it was Casey DeSmith against Ottawa last time, but the Vancouver Canucks haven't played since December 28th, so they've been off for the last 5 days, and they don't play tomorrow. So I think this is one where you go with your starter. Who's your lookout player? This is a pretty solid roster right here.
Yeah, there's so many guys you could choose from here, Ross, but I'm going to go with number 96, Andrei Kuzmenko. Like, this is a guy that tore it up last year with the Canucks when he chose them as his team. We hoped he would choose Ottawa, but he chooses Vancouver and ends up working out for him. But this year, him and Rick Tocchet have not been seeing eye to eye, and he's often been in the bottom 6 here, and his minutes are down big time. But he's back up top with the big boys, with Mikheyev and Pettersson on that top line. And I think Vancouver's trying to figure out, okay, is this a guy that can buy into Tocchet's system? I think Tocchet is proving that he's a good coach, and he's probably going to be here a long time if things keep going this way. So is Kuzmenko going to be able to work with Tocchet or not? But maybe this is just an opportunity where they're like, hey, we're trading this guy. It's inevitable. Let's get him on that top line. Let's boost his value as much as we can here, because teams are going to want a guy like Kuzmenko on their roster. And if it's not going to be in Vancouver, let's at least boost his value to trade him somewhere else. So I'm going to be interested to see how Kuzmenko fares here.
Every time the Senators play against Vancouver, I feel like Elias Pettersson kills them.
Yeah, I mean, he's that type of player. And this is he's out for blood this year, Ross. Like, he's trying to show the Canucks and the rest of the league, hey, I'm not a star player. I'm not an all-star player. I am a superstar player, and he's gunning for that massive, massive new contract.
18 points in 12 career games against Ottawa. That might even be below those points per game this season. Pettersson has 43 points in 36 games, 96 shots on goal as well. He scored 4 game winners. He's just a guy you have to be aware of. And for Ottawa, they're struggling so much on the penalty kill right now. He's a guy I'm really worried that tonight he's going to do a ton of damage on the power play. I know he gets a lot of work done, not only on the power play, but also at even strength. But to me, I'm worried. 5 of his 13 goals this year on the power play. He stands in that spot. He can dish it, but he can also, hit the one-timers and score. But he's also looking to find Brock Boeser on the power play as well. Boeser has 24 goals, third in the National Hockey League right now. Get off the fence, Ross. I'm going to go with Elias Pettersson as my lookout player in tonight's game, but they have so many guys to choose from. You look at the way they built this team too. Ilya Mikheyev has so much speed. Phil DiGiuseppe has so much forechecking ability and getting in, and Dakota Joshua, another guy I know you're a big fan of. He's big. They play like a Rick Tocchet team should play. They're not going to give you an inch. They're going to beat you when you take undisciplined penalties. And again, like Quinn Hughes, the way he's getting off on his season, 45 points and plus 27 in 36 games. And what I like about what they're doing with Quinn Hughes is they're not overplaying him as well. He's only averaging 24-32. Like, compare that to the other top defense in the league that are up at 26, 25 and a half minutes. I think that's really key to keep your top defenseman under 25 minutes, have them in that 24. There's games, when you're chasing it in the third period, you're going to play them more. I get it. But they've had the luxury of being up in games that they haven't had to rely and overburn a guy like Quinn Hughes. So I'm always excited to watch Quinn Hughes play, but you're always looking if Brady can get a lick in on his buddies and that sort of thing. And but to me, this team top to bottom, you cannot take a shift off because, like, don't you think too, Pillsy, like in terms of how Rick Tocchet plays, like that Zadorov-Myers pair kind of just exemplifies it?
Oh, absolutely. As soon as Zadorov was acquired, Ross, you knew he was going to play with Tyler Myers. I mean, that is, say what you want about Tyler Myers, but he is an absolute monster. And just the gap control he's going to be able to have, like him and Zadorov standing side by side, like they're going to be able to shut that blue line down with just like one hand on the stick, like ranging out, like the wingspan on these guys. You're going to have to find a way to beat them with your speed because that's going to be tough.
I need to see Erik Brannstrom go 1-on-2 with those two.
He'll just go through their legs, Ross, like a cartoon character, just zip.
Yeah, the road runner right there with Erik Brannstrom. So we're looking forward to tonight's game. You look at Vancouver. I mean, they're just a team that can beat in so many different ways, and they're a team that scores a lot of goals. They're a team that doesn't let in a lot of goals. But when I look at the Vancouver Canucks, they've scored the most goals per game in the National Hockey League, Pillsy, 3.78 goals per game, and they're only allowing 2.56, which is they're allowing how can I not find? I'm not used to looking this high when I'm sorting on the chart, but no, they're just a team that overall is going to get things done. Fourth, they're tied for third actually. So they're scoring the first most goals per game, and they're allowing the third fewest. So that to me, recipe for success. You could say the least. Their power play sits ninth at 23.46. Now their penalty kill is not so great. So maybe Ottawa can take advantage there. 77.5%. They are 24th in the National Hockey League, but Ottawa is 32nd out of 32 teams, down at 72.1%. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's game?
Final thoughts for me is everyone, as Ross likes to say, get the late night coffee brewing. I'm an energy drink guy, so get your energy drinks going because the postcast is back. I'm so fired up that the postcast is back. It's one of our favorite things about doing the Sens podcast. And look, I know a lot of people are like, holy crap, we're going to have to stay up past midnight for this postcast, but we love all the crew that stays up for the postcast, especially, hey, you West Coast people. This is your time to shine. Get in the mix here. So join us for the postcast, which is usually about 15 minutes after the game's done.
Love it. And enjoy this historic day, too, in Ottawa. Go check out our interview with Emily Clark, PWHL Ottawa. We got our pom-poms on. Enjoy the night at TD Place. To put it in perspective, PWHL Toronto yesterday was the opener. They got shut out, so they played a game, still haven't scored a goal. Well, too bad. Go New York. Love that because we got to get the rivalry going with Ottawa, Toronto in this league as well. And Montreal, obviously the team playing Ottawa tonight. But what I'm really excited for is the fan support and how these girls are going to respond because, man, there was a lot of physicality in that game yesterday, and I'm hoping that Ottawa, the glam and grit combo that they're going to be bringing to the 1-2 punch, I'm excited for that. But Pillsy, in that game in Toronto yesterday at the old Maple Leaf Gardens, 2,600 people were there, and I believe the capacity, like that's pretty close, if not a sellout, but in Ottawa, it's going to be a record crowd. Over 8,000 people will be there. That's going to be an awesome atmosphere. So if you're heading to the game, shoot us a note, send us a picture. We want to see what the atmosphere is like. We're jealous we can't be there, but we'll be dialed into that. And then the Senators game afterwards, a nice 1-2 punch, and then we'll finish it off with the dessert, or should I say the postcast. Pilsy, great to be back with you. We'll talk to you later on this afternoon, this evening, late night, or should I say early tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But for today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the first 2024 edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.